TK, the Raisin Man.
Bro, this Houston Texans team a year ago was one of the most talked about teams out there. The Texans were Super Bowl favorites. You know, some people were saying they might be the favorites in the AFC over the Chiefs, over the Ravens, Bills, teams like that. CJ Stroud had an amazing, rookie season. D'Amico Ryans, an amazing first-year coach. And then he took a step back. And it got a little rough there for the Texans and CJ Stroud, man. I remember calling some of those games, Pat, last year. CJ Stroud was on his back a lot.
A whole lot.
And so, I don't know if they did him any favors, bro. I mean, they seem like they upgraded at the skill positions, but talk to me about the offensive line. And like, I kind of feel like, but anyway, point being is the reason this is one of the top stories is because, like I said, they were talked about a lot last year, and they should be the favorites in that division. They should be the favorites in the AFC South. But are they contenders in the AFC as a team? When you putting them up against teams like the Chiefs, teams like the Ravens, teams like the Buffalo Bills, can they hang with the big boys? And can CJ Stroud bounce back? You've been high on the Texans, Pat.
Yeah.
One of the teams you've been talking about a lot. CJ Stroud, like I said, had that amazing year. So I'm gonna kick it over to you, bro. Can CJ Stroud bounce back this year? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, this is what I'm gonna need the Texans to do this season.
And then I want you to attack. I want you to visualize and then attack.
I want you to visualize and attack with that prolific offense that you have built around CJ Stroud. Yes, they lost Stephon Diggs, but they get back Nico Collins from injury. They sign my boy from the Jacksonville Jaguars, the slot receiver Christian Kirk. You drafted the wonder twins out of Iowa State, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. You still got Schultz at tight end. Like, these dudes are loaded on offense. You got Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon back there at the running back position. The only thing that I will be focused on as far as this offense will be that offensive line. I mean, you traded away your whole offensive line to the NFC East. Thanks a lot, Texans. And you gave them John Mechie. Thanks a lot, Texans. Like, you one of my favorite teams to watch, but dang, man, you have no respect for my doggone Giants over in the NFC East. You just helping out everybody but us. Hey, throw somebody over here to us. You know what I'm saying? But this Texans team going into the season, man, the thing they got going for them, like you already mentioned, bro, they're in the AFC South. Is Daniel Jones and the Colts going to compete with you? No.
Probably not.
Is Prince Charming and the Jaguars going to compete against you? No. Is a rookie quarterback in Tennessee and Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans supposed to compete with you? No. So you pretty much got a free ride into the playoffs if you really want to keep it real. So the only thing you should be watching with the Texans is, can you compete with the Ravens? Can you compete with the Chiefs? Can you compete with the Bills? Can you compete with the Chargers and the Steelers and maybe the Bengals, maybe even the Broncos? that's a wait and see. Like, if you want to compare them to, do you think they could beat the Broncos? I don't know, because that Broncos defense is legit, and Patrick Surtain against Nico Collins, that is a wonderful matchup. That will be part of a big pass game plan if that happens to come up as one of the games of the week. Nico Collins, you see right there on the screen, I think is very underrated. I think he's a top 10 receiver in this league. And it could be an unpopular opinion, but I do believe that kid is dope. But can you compete against that Broncos defense? And Bo Nix is no joke on that other side of the ball against your defense. I think your secondary is very good, and I think your front four is pretty good.
Yeah, talk about that defense though, bro, because they were one of the worst defenses in the league last year, and you have to understand that DeMeco Ryans, a defensive-minded head coach, talk about the defense, and can the defense bounce back? Because I think that had a lot to do with what went wrong with them last year.
Yeah, I think certain things can happen to the defense, and sometimes it might not be their fault. Maybe it could have been that the offense slacked off because of the injuries to Joe Mixon, the injuries to Tank Dell, the injuries to Nico Collins, the injuries to Dalton Schultz. They had major injuries last year on that offense. CJ Stroud was a little shaky because his offensive line was banged up and they didn't protect him. So being on that field longer might have exposed that Texans defense last year to some things they weren't exposed in CJ Stroud's first year. Even Diggs with them last year got hurt. So they lost pretty much everybody last year. And I think that's a huge effect on this team. Now, just to talk about the defense, maybe the linebackers being more aware and getting to plays like they're supposed to. And what about that secondary position opposite of what's the boy that just signed the highest contract for a DB ever? Came from LSU, a monster.
Derek Stingley Jr.
Yeah, Derek Stingley Jr. Like, opposite of Derek Stingley Jr., what do they have?
They got Kamari Lassiter. So they got Lassiter. They got Kamari Lassiter. Jalen Petrie in the slot.
He plays safety too, so
yeah. They got Gardner Johnson at safety, and then
hey, he got hurt. He just got hurt for the season.
Yeah. So they that's what I'm saying. They got problems there. They got some concerns. Definitely, man. So I'm not sure if given offensively, I think they can hang. Defensively, I don't know.
Well, we'll see. That's why they're in the top 10. They come in at number 10, top 10 storylines, man. Watch out for this Texans team, because I'm not saying they're not going to make the playoffs. I think they're a lock for the playoffs because of the division that they play in. But when they get into the playoffs, will they look like they belong? You see what I'm saying? Will they look like they belong when they get into the playoffs? You don't want to just make the playoffs because your division is terrible. You see what I'm saying? Because then if your team is not up to par with all the other top teams, you're going to have a low pick every year because you're in the playoffs. So this team is going to have to bring it together to try to compete with some of those top teams in the AFC. And the AFC is a loaded clip out there. It's like, it is loaded. They got like 12 teams that can make their case for the playoffs. You only got 7, so 5 teams are going to be looking from the outside. But, man,
right.
That's the Texans, man. That's the Texans.